All right, guys, it's time to talk about that Predator story that takes place in the city. Yes, of course, I'm talking about Predator Concrete Jungle. It's going to be like a running joke in the Predator series here. I gotta... Let's have some Predator games I wanted to give some shout outs to. All right, fine. We're going to talk about Predator 2. I have a lot to say, so no shocker there, right? Let's strap on in, people. Okay, first couple things I want to say. Number one of the things that I really enjoy about doing this, and sometimes don't enjoy about doing this, because it's a tad embarrassing at times, is I like when subscribers call me out on my mistakes and things that they have sussed out for themselves and different little theories and I love that stuff. Like, if I say something wrong, please correct me. I will admit I'm wrong and be embarrassed, I'm sure, on some of these. One happened on Predator that I'm not happy about. I'm not sure what the fuck I was doing there, but you know, things happen. But I watching Predator, I haven't seen it, the original, not this one. Watching Predator, I hadn't seen it in, oh God, maybe a decade. It'd been a while. I mean, I saw the movie probably 10 times in my life, maybe more, I don't know. But I made a reference in there that I said, we don't know if Billy lives or dies in there. And yes, we do. We see his body thrown down and he rips the spine. Like, that's the guy he rips the fucking skull out of and whatever. And I think when I was watching it, it's one of those movies where you think you know it so well that when I was watching it, I was kind of just on autopilot watching the thing. And then when I was kind of rambling, like, my brain was just like, oh yeah, we don't know if Billy dies, because I was thinking about him on the log with the face off, and then I just said that. And then I just kind of went on, and then, yeah, when I checked on that, I was like, oh, God, that's right. God, shut up, Jason. Sometimes you just ramble and you say things that make you look like an idiot, and that's one of those things. So thank you to Joe Grizzly, the guy who was murdered by Michael Myers in the bathroom stall, doing the, what was that, the freaking Taco Supreme talking back at me or some shit. Anyways, so thank you to him. Also, another subscriber, or at least a commenter, I don't know if he's a subscriber for sure, Mike H pointed out something about the first one that's really super cool as well, that I didn't even think of. And it makes perfect sense. It's one of those things where I was like, oh yeah, duh, that's really smart. And I don't know why this never even crossed my mind, but it didn't, and I can admit it. But the trap that Arnold sets, and you'll all be like, well, duh. And okay, sorry, yeah, that just didn't ever occur to me. That the trap that Arnold sets for the Predator, he was supposed to trip it, and it was supposed to pull him up into the spikes. I just always thought the plan was the tree falling down on him. I never even thought of that as the counterweight to this freaking, trap that he would have pulled him up into the spikes and impaled him and killed him by the force of it. Now when he says it, I'm just like, wow, how did I never realize that? So thank you to Mike H for proving that I'm a dipshit. Let's get into the Predator 2 review. I wanted to mention a couple names here in my review. So please, when I fuck up here, call me out on it, and I'll probably give you a mention in the next one. Now that's just going to encourage people to try to call me out. That's all right. All right, so this is Los Angeles, 1997. This movie reminds me of RoboCop, actually. That satirical. RoboCop is set somewhere else, but this one is in Los Angeles, and I feel like that's a satire on the crime wave at that time, just kind of poking fun at that and where it would head in the future, because this is 1997. The film was made in 1990. Just the crime rates would keep rising. So yeah, it just, when I was watching it, it had that RoboCop feel to it. And so we get this big full shootout, And for some reason, there's just pedestrians all like right in the background standing there. Why the cops haven't cleared the area and why the fucking pedestrians themselves haven't ran away in fear is beyond me. Maybe they're just so used to it. You see that movie like the Secret Soldiers of Benghazi or whatever, and they can't get those people to stop watching soccer because they're just so used to shootouts in their town. They're just like, what the fuck? This is everyday shit to us. Like, fuck off. It kind of reminded me of that. It was like, I guess these people are just so used to war in the streets that they're just gonna stick around. We get the little reporter here. The reporter in this is the reporter from Tales from the Crypt, an episode that I would say probably was right around this exact same time, because I want to say that's in like season 2 or something, and that's like 1990, I want to say, and this is 1990, so it's almost exactly the same character. I almost will believe that they are the same character and exist within the same universe. Why not? Ghosts and predators, they go hand in hand. And so yeah, Danny Glover comes in, or Hannigan comes in, and he just drives a car right up to the people, like right up to the gang members who are shooting at him. And in order to duck the bullets that are coming through the windshield, he sticks his body out the side of the car because he knocked the door off earlier. And so he's driving by doing this, and his whole body is exposed to be shot. I don't know why him leaning out the car, driving straight at them would protect him more than, like, I don't understand that plan. And then he parks it, which makes them, their cover move up so that they can, advance on these guys. And so then Glover takes off to the left and just kind of just walks right up behind them. Like, if it was so easy to get behind them, couldn't some cops went down to the other side of the block, came around and came behind? Like, really? They didn't come from all sides? Why are they only firing at him this way? And how was it so easy for Hannigan to sneak up behind them? I mean, I know they're busy firing at the cops and all, but he just left his car and went that way. That was the guy you were firing at, the cowboy that just came up on you. Like, really? I guess the first thing, I guess what I first should have said here is, did I like this film? Yeah, I had a good time with it. It's silly as fuck. It's pretty tonally different than the first one. I think that this, I said, kind of mirrored more of a RoboCop than the original Predator. The original Predator was a lot more serious than this movie. Yes, there is some silly gunplay in the movie, but this one is a little more ridiculous, to say the least. The characters are just so animated. The crime and all that stuff is just, it's really, really over the top. And it's fine. I like the film, but I totally understand why this would be hated coming out in 1990. Like, when people were high on the first one and they saw this and like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I totally understand the rejection of this movie. This isn't one of those movies I watch where I'm like, how could you not like this? This is amazing. No, I had a ton of fun with it because I'm that kind of guy who can watch these kinds of movies and just have a blast with what I'm given. One of the main reasons I love this movie, Bill Paxton. Holy shit. Bill Paxton is never better than when he's playing that foul-mouthed fucking chucklehead. That dude that he plays so damn well. He says some shit in this when he tries to hit on that cop, and then when she grabs his dick and he comes around and his first thing he says to Hannigan is like, what's up with that bitch? She on a rag or something? Like, he's so deplorable and he's just so charming at it. I love Bill Paxton. How can the fuck could you not? And that's the woman in that the attacks him or whatever, the partner, the Spanish lady. That's the chick from The Running Man. So some Arnold Schwarzenegger alum there. I know, I kind of have to ask though, like, was Danny Glover a good choice for this movie? Because I think that's where a lot of people were lost. I mean, obviously they all wanted Arnold to come back. There's no way this script could have been the same with Arnold. I mean, it wouldn't have made any sense. So I'm sure that they proposed a completely different script to Arnold because he said, no way, it's a stupid script, and rejected it. But I can't imagine that this one, what did he came back and became a cop? And no way. So was Danny Glover the right choice? I think from a marketing standpoint, for one, I like the bold move of putting an African-American man as the lead of a huge sequel at that time. So cool for that, but we have to remember that this is coming off of, like, this is 1990, so Lethal Weapon 2 had just come out 1 year before this. So Glover was hot right then and there. Like, Lethal Weapon was dominating at that time. It was a big blockbuster. So yeah, I think Glover financially makes sense for sure. And although I don't find, like, I love Danny Glover. You know, Murtaugh is a fantastic character, and he's been in plenty of other things, the Saw series, Saw 1 and whatnot, and plenty of other things. But he's not a tough guy to me. Like, he's a cool, he's badass, but he's not a tough guy. He's not a guy who could physically go toe-to-toe with a predator, like someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And that doesn't absolutely need to happen. When I hear Danny Glover, because you're coming off of Schwarzenegger, which is this 6 foot freaking 3 or 4 dude who's made of pure muscle, and he went toe to toe with a predator, and he got his ass kicked. Let's be fucking clear about that. And then you hear Danny Glover, and Danny Glover is awesome. But when you hear that, you're just like, Danny Glover fighting a predator? Like, really? That's the best option you had? But box office success at that time, I don't know. I think they went with it, and we have the movie we have, and I think he does as good of a job as he was going to do. And I like that the Predator is going in, and because we basically learn later in the movie that the Predators are drawn to war. That's why they were in, the jungle in the first one. That's why they're here now, because there's this war going on in LA, and it's drawn to that, like it's looking for battle. So it comes at different time periods throughout our history and tries to take us out. And at the end of this movie, kind of a little segue here, try to not get too much off track, but something that happens at the end of this movie, they give him this gun from 1715 to show that they've been coming here forever and that war has been what's drawn them. And it really made me kind of excited for the possibility. I know this will probably never happen in a million years, but just the prospect and the thought of having a period piece Predator film. I think that would be badass. Like, do a Western with the Predator? That would be so fucking cool. Some, like, Tombstone Predator shit. That would be cool, man. We've seen this, like, modern day soldiers versus this. But do something like that, I'd be down as fuck for something like that. Because there's no civilization to run to. It's just you out there in the desert with the Predator. I think that'd be pretty damn cool. So anyways, I was just thinking about that when he handed him the gun, and I was like, oh, that'd be kick-ass. I mean, you could put him in the Revolutionary War, or you could put him in, any of those, Civil War or something. But I don't know, something about the Western, little cowboys versus aliens, that worked out so well. That'll be my pitch. Anyways, so Danny Glover goes up, and he fights this dude, and the Predator ends up, he goes to shoot at the Predator, and Danny Glover thinks he's going to shoot at him because he can't see the Predator. And so he shoots the guy, and he falls off the roof, and he falls all the way down, 15, 20 stories. And he lands on a picnic table. I don't know why it's there, but it is. And it doesn't even break. From what I could tell, I'll probably get corrected in the thing, but it looked like it was still perfectly fine, and the guy was just laying on top of it. How the hell he didn't break? Yeah, I'm going to mention the picnic table, okay? That's worth 20, 30 seconds of your life. We got Gary Busey in here. We're talking a Lethal Weapon again. Mr. Joshua himself. Gary Busey always brings some insanity to his roles. He doesn't play a major role here. I mean, his character seems to have a good amount of screen time, but when it really comes down to it, he doesn't do a whole lot, but we'll kind of get to that. And The voodoo gang thing is really weird. I know it was based on a real gang that was like in LA, I think. I grew up in LA. I don't remember that, but it was before my time. I read that in the trivia and I was like, okay. It's an odd little thing. I think that the plot line there, like a subplot line maybe, is that they wanted to, like they kind of addressed it just a little bit where they were blaming it on them. So he like went to this voodoo leader, and then the voodoo leader gets killed, and he has like that match cut where his head's screaming, and then it's the Predator and he pulls it off. I thought that was pretty cool, but I don't know. The voodoo thing wasn't explored almost at all. Like it just seemed there. So it doesn't, I don't know. That one didn't really work for me all that well. I feel like it could have been explored and it could have worked, but it just, yeah, ultimately it fell flat for me. Lots of gory violence in this. Lots of people getting skinned, lots of fucking bodies getting taken off and heads and ripping. I love the scene where he polishes up the skull and we see all his new equipment. And that's just it. The Predator has a lot of new weapons and gadgetry in this. He has like a fucking Spider-Man web that he shoots, and it like starts to cut into that guy's face as it goes. I don't know if it was going to continue to keep tightening until it like, you know, made him into little cubes like in Resident Evil or something. But that was pretty cool to see that thing hit. And then it instantly started to rip his face apart. And when Danny Glover's hits him at the end, he cuts the thing pretty quick, so who knows how much time before the tension locks in. But I thought that was cool. He has that gadget. He has like this staff spear thing that he has. He's got a whole, you know, bag of tricks, whole new bag of tricks. And this is a new Predator. It makes sense, you know. Every Predator probably has their own gadgets, their own weaponry. I'll try to remember. I got to get back to that in a minute. Let's see what else I have to say first. Love Bill Paxton's Mr. Speciality. That's my speciality. Speciality. Oh, wow, that's a word I have a problem saying. I didn't even know that. It's that and rivalry. Rivalry is what I always try to say. Anyway, let's not get off track here. Speciality. Speciality. I never knew I had an issue with that word, but now I do. Fuck. All right. How did the journalist, the dude from Tales from the Crypt, get the tape that he filmed of everyone hanging out upside down? Because Gary Busey, Mr. Joshua, whatever the fuck his name is in this, he's like, get that man and grab that camera. And the dude's like, I smell cover up or whatever. And the guy takes his camera. But then they air it on the TV like, I don't, like, you know, the night next day or early that night. I don't know, but it was like, how did he get that tape? And in the report that he puts on the TV, he calls out his partner as one of the best cops on the force and actually gives him a ton of credit. And then when Danny Glover runs into him later, he punches him in the fucking face and knocks him out. And I was like, this guy's kind of on your side. He's trying to show the cover up that these government agent people are trying to lock down. And he reports the facts. Like he said, like, these are the people that are dead. This is what they're trying to cover up. And he called out his partner as one of the best cops and such a huge, devastating loss. So I don't know. I was kind of like, man, Glover, I feel like that's kind of fucked up. He's on your side. Like, there's so many other people in this movie that could have used a good punch, and I don't think he was one of them. Yeah, I mean, people like that I'm not usually a big fan of, but I thought from what I saw of him, who knows what their history was, but I thought he was at least on his side. So, I don't know. Whatever. Fuck him. That's how I feel about it. Fuck him. The Predator won't shoot a kid who has a plastic gun, so he can actually differentiate between what a real weapon is and a fake weapon. He also doesn't kill the woman, the partner, because she's pregnant. So he actually has something against killing pregnant beings. I mean, we see at the end there's so many different life forms that they've killed, so they go to many different planets. But yeah, it was interesting that he was like, oh, she's pregnant. No, never mind. I'm just going to leave her here. Like, even predators know, man. You don't kill no pregnant chick. That's fucked up. Now, the train fight is interesting to me. It's a cool scene for sure. But it raises a lot of questions. It's fucking hot out here, man. And it's 8:30 at night. Jesus Christ, Arizona, don't live here. But this was interesting to me. So Bill Paxton sees the predator dead on. He can see him coming at him. He fires 2 full fucking clips at him. And we see the back shot of it because the other partner, the chick from The Running Man's looking down at him. And she sees him because she can see right through him. He's invisible, right? Or semi-invisible. They need to update that tech. You can clearly see that shit. But she sees right through him. And she sees that Bill Paxton, who is known as this like really good cop, and he comes out there because he's one of the best, whatever. So he's got good aim for sure. He's firing straight into this thing. We can see that from her perspective. He's firing 2 full clips into this thing. Doesn't even get hurt. Not an injury on it. And I was thinking, well, maybe he has new armor. Maybe he has this and that. Because what the hell's up with that? But later in the movie, Danny Glover has him dead to rights with that shotgun fucking handgun thing that he pulled from his trunk. Shoots him like 6-7 times in a row. Every single one of those hits him. Every single one of them damages his skin, hurts him. So that's some inconsistency because his invisibility cloak, or whatever, this isn't Harry Potter, but you know what I'm talking about, that does not deflect bullets. To my knowledge. I mean, in the first one, when Arnold shoots that thing next to him, it blows up and it damages his tech on his arm, which then, gets rid of his ability to be invisible. So if that thing was like impenetrable, then that wouldn't have happened in the first one. So I don't know. That seemed very inconsistent to me, and I can't come up with a reason why Bill Paxton's shots didn't land when he was firing directly into his body, and we can see that he did, for sure. 2 full clips, mind you. And then he threw a golf ball at him. Yeah, desperate times, I guess. Let's see. Where else are we at? I love the want some candy line he gets from the kid with the toy gun, and he says it to Bill Paxton right before he kills him. I think that's just a creepy ass fucking line. I mean, children's voices used creepily are so effective, and this one works very, very well. I like that he goes after his partners, like, because when he is inspecting the war that's going on between the gangs and the cops and all that, he is there to find his alpha. Like, he wants to find the best of the best to fight. And I feel like this gives us a better insight to what happened in the first Predator. He seeks out the dominant one, and then he eliminates systematically his compatriots one by one. And that is true in the first one, and that is true now in the second one. He goes after them, he kills all his little, guys, and then he comes after the leader. So I like that is the same here as it is there. He hunts them down, because it's the only reason he would be on that train. He's going specifically for his partners. So I really did like that. And there's a scene where and I know this is just for a visual, but there's a scene where he's on like a gargoyle, like Batman style, basically. I don't know if he's actually on a gargoyle, but that's basically what it looks like to me. And he gets struck by lightning. He like puts his rod in the air, and it strikes him. The lightning strikes him, and he's just like, rah, rah. The dude can get hit by lightning? Like, holy shit, that is no joke. Which I think is just there purely for looks, because no. No, that wouldn't work. Here's another thing that makes no sense to me. So Gary Busey is talking about the team from the first one, and that there was 2 survivors, Arnold and that chick. And he says when they were debriefed or interviewed or whatever, they said that this thing had that when they talked to frickin' Dutch, he said that the thing had a thing on his arm, the self-destruct mechanism device on his arm, and that it had enough power, because they went out there, they would have known where the blast site was, and they would have measured it out. It had enough power to level 300 city blocks. Now, I went on Google, because I don't know any better. But I went on Google and I put in how big is 300 city blocks, and I went on this like measuring thing or whatever. That's 15 miles. He doesn't say 300 square blocks. He says 300 blocks. Now, he could have meant that, and maybe that's smaller, but 15 miles. So, what, 7.5 miles, like, circumference? Like, is that 7.5 miles from the center of the blast radius? So, yeah, 15 miles coverage. So, freaking Dutch ran 7.5 miles in the 3 seconds he had? Or because he ducked behind this little bush or tree stump, the blast didn't blow him up? It took out 7 miles in that direction, and it didn't go through a tree stump? So yeah, that line to me was like, did you watch first movie? Did whoever write this? Yeah, that doesn't make any goddamn sense. So whatever. I just thought that was really silly. When I heard that, I had to stop it. I had to rewind it. I watched it again. I was like, he doesn't say square. He right out says this, and I was just like, okay, no, bullshit. Anyways, so we find out that the predator feeds on beef cattle every 2 days, which, you know, it has to eat. So I was cool that they addressed that. They don't want Hannigan to go in. They bring him in to tell him all of what their operation is all about. But then when he realizes that it's a trap and the predator's got the drop on them, he decides he's going to go in there and save the day because he's the badass, whatever. And they're like, stop him. And he goes and he just like punches a couple of the guys, and he takes their guns and he's like, open it up. And they're like, Hannigan, you're going to screw everything up. Don't go in there. And he's like, yeah, go fuck yourself or whatever. And then he just like walks over to his car and has his like Rambo getting ready sequence. And it's like, those guys couldn't have came out and then stopped him right then and there. Like, he just walked. It's not like he ran straight to the building and went in before they could regroup themselves and come up with this, you know, plan to make sure he doesn't go in there and actually screw up this plan that they've been putting together for like a decade. Like, he's right there at his car. He's just digging around in his trunk. He put the gun down. He's not doing anything. Don't you have soldiers that can... Also, Gary Busey's character seems very, like, surprised that Hannigan's there, but his goons went out and crashed into him and brought them there. Like, he wasn't aware of any of that. They were just following him, or I don't know. That's nitpicky as fuck, but I just laughed out loud when I saw him just go to his car and take his time and load up. And it's like, these guys are about to get attacked in like 1 second, and you have enough time to run over to your car, grab what you need. I was just like, he clearly, and hey, he doesn't give a shit about these people. But that just seemed the reason. Maybe he was just going in there to kill the predator. He was like, fuck these guys. I'm just going in there because they're not going to get the job done, so I'm going to. He wasn't going there to save the day. He was just going in there for his own selfish purposes. Payback for his partners. Anyway, the predator speaks multiple times in this. He finishes the famous Arnold line, "You're one ugly motherfucker," and then, which looks like a vagina. His mouth looks like a fucking vagina, straight up. And then later in the movie, like maybe 5 minutes later, Glover, Hannigan, whatever, calls him pussy face. That fucking killed me. That was fantastic. Yes, thank you. Because when I saw it, I'm like, that looks like a vagina. That looks like a fucking vagina. That isn't me being a pervert for once. That is straight up, it looks like a fucking vagina. It's the vagina from Teeth. That's what that thing looks like from the inside. But I love that he calls it pussy. But anyways, then he says shit happens later on. He's reading the fucking bumper sticker Forrest Gump created. And then at the very, very end, one of his leaders, so somebody else, he also speaks English and is able to enunciate. And he says, take it, when he hands him the gun. So the predators can speak our language if need be. So they have that ability. They don't just make that fucking clicking, growling sound, whatever the hell that thing is. I'm not going to try. No, my God, it would be terrible. But yeah, we find out that they can speak as far as this one's concerned. He starts a self-destruct sequence after he's bested. And Glover, Hannigan grabs this fucking weapon and cuts his arm off. And I like the predator does his like Mad Max villain guy's eyes bulge out when he sees it happen, and he cuts his arm off and it falls down. He cuts it off right in the middle of the thing, which stops it. I mean, that's a risky move, but hey, I mean, you only had one option. Thank God it shorted the thing out. It didn't blow up. But then he goes down there and he like cauterizes his wounds, all of his different wounds, with this like blue jelly stuff that he made out of like mortar and this liquid stuff and fire. Pretty cool. I liked seeing him. He's taking his sweet ass time with it, but he's got to heal up before he can. And he goes and he tries to get back to his ship. And I'm guessing like when Hannigan goes to follow him, I mean, it's a pretty happy coincidence that his ship just so happens to be under that very building, but whatever. Hannigan goes down there. I have to believe that he was like, okay, let's go. And they're like, oh no, like, look at you. You got no arm. You're all scarred up. Like, who kicked your ass? Oh, here he comes. You better go beat him. We're not leaving here. You did not pass the test. Don't even try to pretend that you did. So he was probably forced to go back out there by himself. And when Glover beat him, they were like, all right, okay, USA. Name that movie. Bloodsport. Come on, people. But yeah, I mean, I think it was like kind of like he threw him the gun and it was like, respect. I think that would have been the line now if they had written it today. But another really cool thing here, which I haven't seen this movie in a long time, so I completely forgot about, and a little foreshadowing for the future. I'm guessing they were in negotiations and talks for it even all the way back in 1990. There is a xenomorph skull in his collection of skulls that are up on the wall. One of the other ones looks like a Rancor from fucking Return of the Jedi almost. It's way smaller, but it kind of looks like that. Anyway, I'm not trying to link those franchises. But they are out in the stars and they're headed towards wars. No. But yeah, I love that they're xenomorphs. That's crazy. Like, I was like, oh wow, how cool is that shit? We get to see some foreshadowing for the future, and they do actually, deliver that eventually. Neither film really hit the expectations people had, I don't think, for sure, but we'll get to those eventually. And let's see. I think that's it. I mean, I have fucking shit everywhere. Yeah. Whatever. I think I got it all. So, that was fun. I didn't expect to talk about this one more than the first Predator, but as you can see, I was just on autopilot throwing out random bullshit that didn't even make any fucking sense, like a jerk off. But yeah, this was a fun revisit. I'm really looking forward to revisiting this movie because I don't remember it almost at all. I remember it being pretty subpar, but we'll see. I mean, I know everyone hates it, but, if anyone's ever going to like it, it should be me, right? All right, guys. I guess I'm going to go watch Predators.